Hey everyone, and welcome to another Crusader Kings 3 modding tutorial on the Iron Workshop. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create new flags for the various titles in the game. And this tutorial will be valid for any type of title, whether it's a kingdom or an empire or a duchy. It doesn't really matter. As long as you locate the title that you want to change, you will be able to change its flag. The first thing that I'm going to do is to create a new mod. Now, if you already have a mod that changes other things, you can just skip this step and proceed directly to changing the files. So we'll be creating our new mod. We'll go to Mods, Mod Tools, Create Mod. I'll just call it the New Title Flag. And in here, this is the version of my mod. And the folder will be also New Title Flag. I'll give it the graphics tag, create mod, and our mod has been created. We can now proceed to creating our files and folder structure. Now let's create our files and folders that will be used to change the flags. So I'm going to open my CK3 mod folder, which is located in Documents, Paradox Interactive, Crusader Kings 3 mod. Here's the folder and the file that have been created in the launcher. So let's open that, and I'm also going to open the vanilla, the original game files as well. And you can find those in Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Crusader Kings 3 game. Now from here, first of all, we'll need the common folder. So I'm going to recreate that in my mod. Inside of the common folder, there's a folder called Code of Arms. So let's recreate that as well. Inside of this folder, again, there's another folder called Coat of Arms, so let's recreate that as well. Now make sure that your folders are named correctly, because if they're not, things will not work properly. And inside of this folder, there's a file called Landed Titles. So I'm just going to copy this file over to my mod, and I'm going to change it to New Flags. You can call it whatever you want, it doesn't really matter. But we do need this file and its contents. Right, the next thing that we need is to go back to our root mod folder, the first folder of our mod, and I'll do the same for Crusader Kings 3. And from here, we'll need the GFX folder. It's this folder right here. So let me just recreate that in my mod. And inside of this folder, you'll also see a folder called Coat of Arms. So let's copy that as well. And from this folder, we will be creating two folders. First of all, textured emblems and colored emblems. Now, depending on which coat of arms or flag you are creating, you may need the patterns folder as well. But once you understand how this works, you can decide on your own which folders you actually need. Alright, so these are all the folders and files that we need from the base game. And now we can proceed to actually creating our new flag or coat of arms. Okay, now there are two approaches to creating a new flag in Crusader Kings 3. You can either use the game's modular system to create a new flag. For that, you will need to combine various elements and put them on top of each other to create your new flag. Or you can just import a texture into the game, and the game will just put that texture on the flag. We will be doing both in this tutorial so that you know how to do both and you can decide on your own which approach is best for you. For the purpose of this tutorial, we'll be changing the flag of the Kingdom of England into the flag of Great Britain. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my common folder, Coat of Arms, and open my new flags file. Now inside of this file, you can find almost all of the titles in the game and the definition of their flags. This file tells the game how a flag for a certain title should look like. Now I'm looking for the Kingdom of England. What I'm just going to do is to open the search window by pressing Ctrl and F on my keyboard. And I'm just going to type England. There are actually 3 variations of the flag for the Kingdom of England. And this one is, for example, I assume when England and France are united into one kingdom. So that is not the flag that I want to change. So I will search again. Now we have K England, which stands for Kingdom of England. And that is actually the flag that I want. But you'll see that there's also another one when the Kingdom of England is a Norman Empire. Now this probably has something to do with bookmarks, and that is when you see these new flags. If you want to change either one of these, that's fine, that's up to you, you can change whatever you want. We'll be just changing this entry K England. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this entry by selecting it and pressing Ctrl and C on my keyboard. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to clean this file of all the other entries. So I'm going to press Ctrl and A on my keyboard, delete, and then Ctrl plus V, and just paste this new entry for K England. Now in this case, we will be changing the flag of an existing title in the game. If you have created your own title, then obviously you need to put the ID, this is the ID of the title, and just follow from here onwards. Alright, so how can we now change this flag? Changing the flags with the modular system of the game is a trial and error process where you will have to try things out, see how they work, and then change them again until you get the result that you want. As of the time of making this video, I have not found a way to see the flags changed real time in the game, even when I am in debug mode. My common sense tells me that it should be possible, and there seems to be some kind of a flag preview in the game, but again, that doesn't change even if you are in debug mode, so I'm still not sure how to use it. So the only way to see the changes that you made is to reload the game every time, which can be quite annoying, but that is part of modding, and the more flags you create, the less restarts you'll have to do in order to get the result that you want. So let's get to creating our flag. The current flag of the Kingdom of England consists of a red flag with a white dragon on it. So that is what I want to change into the various crosses that the game already has. So let's take a look at what we have in here in this entry. First of all, we have pattern. Now, if I were to open the original game and go to G of X, coat of arms, patterns, you see that these are all the patterns that I can put in the game. Obviously, you can add your own as well. Now, the England flag uses pattern solid, and it is this one. That means that it's just a solid background with the color that I'm going to give here. So I want my pattern to be solid, and I want my background to be blue. So let's do that. Now, on top of this pattern, I'm going to put a colored emblem. And if we go into the files in here, you see that we have colored emblems, and these are the emblems that we can use. So we will need about 3 crosses to get this right. So I'm just going to search for cross. And it's going to take a while to find it. Now I don't want to have 2 colors of my cross. I actually don't need that. So I'm just going to remove one of these entries, like that. And let's take a look at the crosses that we have. So we have all of these crosses. Now I'm just going to use this one, for example. So I'm just going to copy the name, right? So I'm going to press F2 on my keyboard. That's for renaming. Control C to copy the name. And I'm just going to put it in here like that. So this is going to be my first cross. And I want it to be red. So I'm just going to change the color to red. Now we need to put another cross. Now the way that I put the other cross below this cross is by putting it like this. The file is read by the game from the top to bottom, which means that whatever is on the bottom is going to be on top of everything else in the game. So now we need another cross, and this one actually needs to be a white cross. Now if I were to look at my mod folder in here, I've actually downloaded the flag of Great Britain, and as you can see, this red cross has another white cross right behind it. So that is what I want, and I want it to be white. Another thing that I have in here is this position. Now I have a value for the x-axis and for the y-axis. So you can move around these as you like. I won't be doing that too much. You also have scale, and you can also add rotation, and we will do that with our final cross. So I want this to be white, but I also want it to be a little bit bigger than this cross, right? So that I can actually see it behind it. So I'm just going to change the value of scale. This one is 0.9, so I'm just going to make this one 1.2, like that. And that should give me a bigger white cross behind my red cross. Now we need another cross, which will go like this, right? So it's this tilted X cross. So let's add another one. And I do want this one to be a bit thinner. Now I should tell you right now that results doing these things like that are not always perfect because of the way that coat of arms are handled by the game. So you might need to work on this thing a little bit more. So I do want a thinner cross, and I actually have one in here. So again, I'm going to copy its name and I'm just going to put it in here. And it also needs to be white, right? And it needs to go like that. So we also need to give it a rotation, but we also need to reduce its scale since I don't really want it to be larger. So we'll just keep it at 0.9. And I'm going to add rotation in here, just like this. And I'm going to give it a 45 angle rotation. Now you may ask, okay, how do I know that it's 45? And how do I know that this will generate the cross that I want? Well, before I did this lesson, I did a lot of trial and error, and I tried and I saw how things worked finally in the game. So that is how I know, and that is the way that you will have to learn to create these flags until a better way comes along. So now that we have our cross created, let's go into the game and see how it turned out. After we see how this one turned out, we're going to try a different approach. We're just going to take this picture in here and we'll just use it as a texture so that the game puts it directly on our flag without us having to create all of these entries. But first, let's see how it turned out in the game. So I'm going to start the game. And if we take a look at the Kingdom of England, you see that we got something like this. Not great, not amazing, but we can actually improve it by moving things up or down using the Y axis, right? And we can also change the scale. Again, I'm not going to make this flag perfect because that is not the purpose of this video. The purpose is only to show you how to do these things. All right, so now that we tried one way to create flags, let's see another way that we have. So in our original game folder, you see that we have three folders: colored emblems, patterns, and textures. Now in our flag, we used patterns. We have one pattern in here. And we also used colored emblems, but we can also use a textured emblem. To do that, we're just going to have to remove all of these entries, or we can just comment them out. You can do this by putting a hashtag before all of these entries. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to type the following: textured emblem. I'm going to open a new bracket, texture. And in here, I will need to type the new texture that I'm going to put in the game. Now to create our new flag, we will be using paint.net. So let's open paint.net. And I'm just going to drag this file in here. Now, in order to get the size right, I'm also going to drag a file from the original game into paint.net. And we see that in our image canvas size, we see that the size is 128 by 128. So what I'm going to do in here, I'm just going to go to image, resize. I will remove the selection from maintain aspect ratio. And I'm just going to change it to 128, 128. All right, so it doesn't look perfect. But again, I'm not doing this tutorial to make something perfect. You can get a better result once you work on it. So now I'm going to save this file. I'm going to go to File, Save As. And in here, I'm going to, first of all, save it as Direct Draw Surface, or DDS. I'm going to rename it to Great Britain. Save. And in here, I will make sure to select this option, A8, R8, G8, B8. Okay, great. And now that our file is saved, we can copy it from here and put it into the GFX, coat of arms, textured emblems, put it right here, grab the name, go back to our file, put it in here, and of course add the extension just like here, so .dds. Excellent. So now let's save the file, let's restart the game and see how our flag looks now in the game. Alright, so now you can see that the game no longer uses the modular system to create our flag. It just puts the texture that I told it to put on the flag, and that's all there is to it. Alright, so these are the two ways that you can create flags in Crusader Kings 3. If you're having any issues, if something didn't work, please let me know in the comments to this video. If you have suggestions on better ways to create flags, please also share that information so that we may all know it. And maybe if you know how to make the flags update in real time in the game, I would love to know that so that we can all make better flags and have a much easier process to do so. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video, lesson or tutorial on the Iron Workshop. Bye bye. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. The algorithm and me will be very happy. Here are more videos I make. If you like my stuff, consider subscribing to be notified when new content is available. The Iron Workshop lives and thrives thanks to the continued support of my Patreons. If you're willing and able, you can support me on Patreon for just $1 and get access to exclusive and early content. See you around.